You are listening to Girls in Low Places.
We're like the country music podcast that your mum banned you from listening to.
Let's go, you freak.
Who let us backstage, honestly?
My Girls in Low Places. What would you say are like your top 3 country music films? Like comfort films? Oh my God. That's so funny. That's my outfits for CTC that just arrived at the door. My top 3 would be, in no particular order, Country Strong, Walk the Line, absolute classic, and Wild Rose. Now, Wild Rose is obviously the only sort of British film in there. And I'm so excited to tell you guys that I sat down with Dawn Sievewright, who is going to be playing the role of Rose Lynn in Wild Rose, the musical. It's coming out in March in Edinburgh. I mean, it's just the most amazing film. Jessie Buckley in it is like, I mean, I am obsessed with Jessie Buckley, have been ever since she was on, what were those programs, you know, the How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria programs. Obsessed with her. But when she played this country music role, I was just like, this film, I've watched it probably about, I'd say 5 times at least. So the fact that it's coming out and being an actual musical that we as country fans can go and see, incredible. GILPERs, if you have not seen Wild Rose, get home tonight and make sure you put it on because it is such a good British country music fan film. But what I will say, Rose Lynn, the lead girl in it, Jessie Buckley's part, now Dawn's part in the musical, she is a GILPER through and through. She is a girl in a low place who just loves country music. So I feel like we can all identify with her. But also, I just think it's such a fun thing to go and do. I'm definitely going to take Ozzy, I think. She doesn't know that yet. I just think that like it's such a fun treat to go and take one of your like country music gals, country music friends to go and see. So me and Ozzy are currently brainstorming our outfits for C2C. The C2C countdown is truly on and we have some very exciting news coming up that we can announce in the next couple of weeks. Oh my God. But this conversation with Dawn, you know I'm a musicals girly and you know I love country music. The two blended together, mwah. Finally, we're going to have a musical that is all about country music. I feel like we haven't really had one. Someone said to me the other day, oh, the Bob Dylan one, or oh, this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, that's not what our country gals are about. We need a musical that's all about country music. And finally, we're going to have one. So if you can get to Edinburgh and see this, 10 out of 10. I think I'm going to take Ozzy on a staycation. We're going to do Edinburgh. We're going to do pilgrimage to Glasgow to go to the Opry. Like we're going to do the whole Scottish thing because I know we have Scottish GILPERs out there. Hello, we love you. But I think I really need to see Scotland from the perspective of country music. I love Scotland. I've been a couple of times, but I want to see it from a country music perspective this time. And Dawn inspired me, and I think she's going to inspire you, GILPERs. So have a chat with me and Dawn. She's a GILPER. Oh my God, Dawn. You do not understand how much I'm obsessed with the film. The fact it's going to be a theatre show, like, tell me what meant that you were like drawn to this role?
I was literally just like, you know, when you go and see something and you see a character and you're like, fucking yes! You're just like, oh, she's just, as the title suggests, wild. And like, I identify with that word a little bit myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, yeah, I love that. I was totally sucked into, I mean, Jessie Buckley is obviously an incredible actress.
An icon.
It's where I was brought up, like I'm Glaswegian and all the characters, I just totally identified with that community and that world and like how it can be like really, really funny one minute and then like heartbreakingly sad the next minute. And the music, obviously the music.
The music.
Yeah, it's mega. So like they shot most of the film at the Grand Ole Opry, that's in Glasgow city centre, and that has been an institution for years and years. So the people still go there, they're still gunslinging, they're still like, they dress up, they do the line dance, they take it very seriously. But like, yeah, country music is just embedded. It's quite similar to Celtic traditional music that we play, obviously, with all the same kind of instruments, but Glaswegians specifically, but Scottish people just love it. They just love it. I think anything that like encompasses mental emotion, like heartbreak and anger and revenge and all that kind of stuff, Scottish people get on board with that stuff because we feel quite deeply.
I don't know why I just suddenly had Braveheart coming into my head.
That's exactly what it is. Imagine Braveheart with a country music soundtrack.
Speaking of which, Are you going to be doing a theatre soundtrack? Is the music like exactly the same as it is in the film, or have we got more songs in there?
A
Is it
lot of the music that you heard in the film is in the show. So we've got like Chris Stapleton, we've got Dolly Parton, we've got Primal Scream, Country Girl, we've got Caitlin Smith, we've got all of the beautiful music, and then obviously Glasgow. There's no place like home.
what a song?
Just plenty of music packed in. We have an 8-piece live country band on stage the whole time.
Immersive.
It'll feel like you're at a gig. That's what it will feel like. It won't be like, I know that plenty of people, I've done a lot of musicals, and some of them can be big, sparkly, West Endy, cheesy things. This feels like you're at a gig. So people enjoy going to see country music and enjoy going to gigs. It will feel like that with just like some scenes in between.
Brilliant. I'm such a musical theatre girly at heart. Like
Are you?
oh my God. I went to arts ed for sixth form and did musical theatre.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I always say to my co-host Ozzy, I'm like, country music and musical theatre, they are the same thing. Like there's the parallels are just so aligned. It's unreal. What sort of parallels have you found with working more in country music and being loving musical theatre? How does that marry together for you?
We were talking about it yesterday actually in rehearsal. So Davey, our musical director, was talking about it's just story, isn't it? So like there'll be some songs in the musical that are just Rose Lynn getting up there and having a good time, like singing Outlaw State of Mind by Chris Stapleton, rocking out. And then there are some songs, and because country does this so beautifully, the narrative is so beautiful that you just slip it into the story and it moves the story. And I think that's what makes a good musical, right? You don't want to just be listening to tons of songs that don't relate to the character. Country does it very, very well. I agree.
One of my favorite things in the film is Bob Harris's cameo that he has. Are we getting the real Bob Harris on the show on the stage, or have we got someone else?
Bob Harris does make an appearance in this show. I might have been in a recording studio with Bob Harris a couple of weeks ago in London, recording some stuff. So yeah, you'll have to come and find out. You'll have to come and find out. But meeting him was insane. I just like wanted to learn a bit from him and learn a bit about people that he champions. And he was just talking. I was literally sat on the floor of a recording studio, just sitting like at his feet as he was talking to Nicole and John, our director. And his voice is just so, it's like, even it's like that in real life. You're like, how does it sound so good? And he was just talking about young women in the industry and watching them, and we were talking about Lainey Wilson, and we were talking about just people, like just watching people thrive and watching people come up through, and also how hard it is, just how hard it is to make in an industry that, and what it's like to be someone that lives in the UK and trying to make it in America. I was like, Bob Harris is talking to me about country music. This is cool.
You have the Bob Harris stamp of approval, and that is something that we all strive for in this world. And he just seems to be the heart and soul of country music in the UK, because country music in the UK is actually can be a bit divided.
Yeah.
Like, lots of people say, well, this isn't country enough, or some people don't support the UK artists, or something. It's very a very divided community. But
Mhm.
Bob, everybody listens, loves, and respects Bob. He
Yeah.
is like this, he's the glue. He's the glue to the UK country scene, I swear to God.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I swear to Bob. But yeah. What was the song that was like your country music moment of going, oh my God, I love country music now?
When I was younger, I've been talking about this a lot. We were in rehearsals, and the director was just asking us about like a musical moment that we remember from our childhoods, because we were all sharing them. It was so
Yeah.
cool. But like, I was born in like 87, so I was very much a child of the 90s. So
Hmm.
like, we're talking like the Chicks, we're talking Shania Twain, we're talking Leanne Rimes, we're talking all those females that I absolutely were surrounded. And I remember listening to my auntie. She would just play the Chicks album over and over again. We're talking like Wide Open Spaces, we're talking There's Your Trouble, like old
Hmm.
90s. And I remember listening, and I delved back into that stuff because I hadn't listened to it in ages, and I was totally taken straight back to where
Yeah.
how I felt, and like these like kick-ass women just like paving their way. And I totally get that. But then now, I'm listening to country music, and I went to see Chris Stapleton live for the first time. That was like spiritual spirituality. I was just crying, going, "Let it wash over me. Just let it wash over me." It was like being at church. I loved it. Chris Stapleton's obviously up there with his wife, singing to his incredibly sexy wife, and I'm like, "This is." I feel like I've just walked into your living room and I'm just watching you have some sort of concert. But also, all the dudes behind him were so old.
Because they were proper.
Proper, and you're just like, there's something about that in an industry that is so like music and culture of music can be so young and hip and
And
sexy
ageist.
and ageist, and you're just like, these guys have just like paid their dues and like they're pros at what they do and they play their instruments so beautifully. And that's what I love about it. I love about that country lifts that up.
His music is such a broad audience. Like
Yeah.
it just gets everyone. It's got a modern twist to it, but it's also got like the classic stuff, and it just brings everyone together into this big melting pot. If there was one musical theatre role that you could play before you die, what is it? Tell me.
Nancy and Oliver.
Oh my God, mine's the same.
I've auditioned for that role, I'm not even joking, ever since I came out of drama school. I'm just, like, drawn to these women that have, like,
Yes.
are navigating a tough time and that are, like, strong and, like, vibrant. Love that.
Definitely Rose Lynn has like some Nancy vibes going on with her. There are some roles I feel like in like your guys' sort of careers that just everything just comes together at once at the right time. And I feel like maybe for you this is the
Yes,
role. And then we'll go for Nancy and Oliver next year,
in 10 years.
Is there hope for the show to come from Edinburgh down to London? Is it going to be touring? Like what's the hopes for it?
It was really, really important for the director and Nicole, who wrote it, to start it in Scotland where it originates, and because it's a story about us and we want to be in that place and let people celebrate their story. The plan is to get this show in front of as many people as possible because there's so many country fans all over the UK. I mean, everywhere, but like on the UK, and I don't know, like, I don't know if you ever seen, I mean, Calamity Jane, but that's not a very country. That's a bit like,
Just blew in from the Windy City.
remember that, totally. Is there anything out there that gives you, like, actual current cool country music? I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, and I think that there's a massive space in, like, a commercial world for people to flock in and see this stuff.
So obviously we as country fans, a lot of us make the pilgrimage to Nashville. And obviously without giving too much away in the story for the people who haven't watched the film, but there is a moment where the main character is trying to get to Nashville and maybe it isn't all what it seems when she gets there. So has there been a moment in your career where you've gone for something and then you've got there and gone, this isn't actually what I expected it to be?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's been plenty of moments in my career, and I think that's, what's so interesting about being in a creative industry like this,
Yeah.
and being young. Like, I started doing this when I went to drama school when I was 17. I was young and I came out, and
Hmm.
I think that this was my experience, but like I came out of drama school and I was like, well, I'm going to do musicals and that's going to be it for the rest of my life. And I want to be in the West End. And then you get there and then you're like, okay, like what now? Like, where does this take me? And I think
Hmm.
it's really individual for every single person. But I went into musical theatres and I was doing them and they were fab, but I wanted more. And I wanted to like
Hmm.
create characters, and I wanted to there's something about there's something about telling stories from where I'm from. Like, and I think that's a big thing to do with
Yeah.
country music, right? Like authenticity and talking about where you've been and where you've been raised and where your roots are. And I think that I just yearned for that. And I thought, I'll just keep climbing and I'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again and I'll get bigger parts and better jobs and whatever. And yeah, I think that's a really personal thing, and growth, like personally, from being kind of immature and thinking that when I make it, that's me. And then you sit there and you're like, okay, here we
Yeah.
are now. Now where's next? Where's next?
This is why you are absolutely perfect for this role because I feel like this character goes on that
Mm,
journey and sort of like has such a coming of age story with with this pursuit of a
mm.
musical dream.
I know what it's like to be Rose Lynn, and I know what it's like to have something inside me. Now that can be for anybody, anything. It doesn't have to be performing in front of thousands of people, but it could be, you know
Mhm.
what I mean, wanting to be an artist or wanting to make things or wanting to travel or whatever that is. But when you've got something that's in there, it's not going away. And I think that I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to go like there's something inside me that needs to do something, so I'm going to do it. And if when I get there, if I don't like it as much, then I can figure that out. But like I just have to go. I have to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have two kids at home to take care of. Rosalind does. So that's the whole point of the story. But you just go, yeah, running after your dreams and then figuring out what they are when you get there are two completely different things.
I feel like I need to go and talk to my therapist for a little while.
After this show, I'm definitely going to need an extended session.
Oh my god. What piece of advice would you give to anyone who wants to pursue a career in musical theatre or in music in general?
I mean, yeah, music and musical theatre, it's all hard, right? Um, I think that when I was younger, I used to always want to fit in. And like when I came out of drama
Mm.
school, I was like, and I didn't fit in. I was different. I had like a husky voice. I was Glaswegian. I maybe didn't look a certain way or feel a certain way. I was a lot. Um, and I felt like I was never going to make it in an industry that was so specifically about fitting into a box and like recasting and singing like a soprano and whatever. And it was only when this is going to sound really therapy. Ready for this? It was only when I really embraced who I was and like what I could bring to the industry when I started to succeed,
Mhm.
like really succeed, and started taking steps forward, getting amazing shows, playing great parts. When I fully just was like, I'm not like everyone else. I am. Me." And I think
Right.
that for anybody that's heading off into this industry, like it's just a gargantuan amount of hard work and graft, but
Yeah.
also just to like keep true to who you are. And I think that's the same with Wild Rose. Like it's about who am I, and don't just jump into a pond that you think is going to fix everything. Like who am I and why am I doing this? It's for me, and just to keep hold of that.
And lean into your strengths. I feel like the character in Wild Rose definitely does that. She leans into who she is, and that actually is her biggest success, rather than when she's trying to be American or she's trying to be this, that, and the other. That's something that I have a bit of a gripe with about the with the UK artists. Sometimes I kind of want them to be more leaning into what makes a UK country star. What is that sound? What is that accent? What are we talking about the countryside in the UK, rather than trying to emulate something that we're not, as in
Yeah,
aka American. I think it's a difficult blend for the UK country acts, and I think it's something that like some people are really getting right, and I think some people are still developing it. It's a tricky thing because that sound is so American, that we love, but that we can bring in so many different things from, as you say, the Celtic, all of that stuff can be coming in, and we can be creating our own
yeah,
UK sound and UK topics that we can be singing about. So I think Wild Rose is a very good emblem
yeah.
of that. One country musician that you could duet with, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Such a good question. I'm learning a little bit of guitar for this show, and I was talking to the musical director, and he sent me loads of videos of Ashley McBride. I love that video of her standing on the Grand Ole Opry stage for the first time singing.
That Girl Going Nowhere song.
That's on my. I've got like a Wild Rose Lynn country list of songs that like reflect her kind of drive, and that's on the top of the list.
So before the show, do you reckon you're going to be like, kind of get a bit method, listen to some of those songs, get your cowboy boots on? Is that going to be your
Yeah,
process
it's going to
or?
be. I'm going to have to just kind of surround myself with the music, and I am trying to do that as much as I can just now. And listening to the music is the closest way you're going to get into the world, right? I
Yeah.
think that anybody who is into country or just into like good stories will enjoy this show.
Mhm.
So come and see
Yeah.
us.
Actually, I have a great uncle in Edinburgh. So great Uncle Michael,
Get that spare room ready.
get our spare bedroom made up, because me and podcast host Ozzy, we're coming to watch Wild Rose. But I want to also do like a pilgrimage of the good country venues. So Glasgow and Edinburgh, how far away from
Like
from
50
each
minutes
other?
on the train, nothing.
So I could maybe do like a day in Glasgow, and we'll go to those. You're gonna need to make me a little list.
Do a line dancing class at the Grand Ole Opry. You'll love it. It's literally the best, and it's like going back in time. And people take it so they love it. They're so serious about it, which is so endearing.
Well, look, if I'm coming up, I'm gonna be grabbing you side of stage and being like, and you're gonna be very method about it and be like, "Fuck off."
Have the cowboy boots on. I'll be like, "Whoa!" Come in your Stetson.
Don't tempt me with a good time. Don't tempt me with a good time. I swear to God, Dawn is Rose Lynn, just born in another life. Like, she is that character. We are getting so close to C2C now. We have got some incredible episodes coming up. I'm so excited, and big announcements. So keep your eyes peeled. Me and Ozzy will be back next week. Until next time, keep gilpin'. Is that a phrase I can say? I don't think it is.
You are listening to Girls in Low Places.
We're like the country music podcast that your mum banned you from listening to.
Let's go, you freak. Who let us backstage, honestly?